Chapter 4. The Quest. The 12th dark day at Ellenbew, 819. Staring endlessly into the flames at camp has drained me of all energy. Too exhausted to contemplate my future anymore, I glance at the fiery orb in the sky, the god Belenos, as he sinks toward the horizon. I return my gaze to the fire. The day's end is nearly upon us. Caradoc begins to pace. "Where are you, Boswin?" he mutters. "Behind you, old friend." Caradoc spins and places his hands on his hips. "Cutting it close, aren't we?" It was a weighty matter I had to mull over, and if I explained the quest at midday, Grami would still be pestering me with questions. I stand and formally bow to my mentor. Lord Caradoc has some important information he must officially tell me by sundown. If I see you between then and the completion of your quest, it could affect your status in our order. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Lord Boswin. Absolutely not, but I can't say that. It is my belief that you are ready for greater responsibilities in the community of Druids. I am awash in sweat, and my heart is racing fast enough that it may fail at any moment. Yes, I believe you possess the skill and discipline to take your place in our society of Druids. Therefore, the time for your quest is nigh. I rub my palms together to burn off some energy. Why must he repeat his previous statements? I most fervently hope that you prove my assumptions correct. My quest? I prompt. Boswin flashes a telling smile, but he does quicken his pace. You will find in my hut a newly woven white robe. I wish you to put it on and return for your instructions. I run to his hut. Why couldn't he have mentioned this at midday? It's lying on top of his bed. No time to change. I drop my mantle and swap the new robe for my brown novice's attire. I make it back to the fire before Caradoc can start yammering. What were the requirements to start a proper quest? I'd always thought this would be a happy occasion, but all I can do is think of how it could all be invalidated. I was led to believe that I must pass a test before the quest is given, I stammer. Caradoc preens in delight. Yes, it seems in your dotage, old friend, that you have forgotten about the test. Their inane banter grates on my nerves. Boswin rolls his eyes. Any teacher who has to quiz his student to determine whether the common knowledge is retained should not be in charge of instruction. But, to assuage you both, I will test Grami's knowledge. What are our 9 places of power? The Nemeton Daiwul Derur of Inismona is the gift of the elves. The Men Murakov key is the gift of the giants. Menantol is the whimsical gift of the pixies. Ardry Bryn Cadwy is the tomb of the old king. Caradoc nods his head appreciatively, but I don't dare slow down to acknowledge it. Brennan Cairn is the resting place of great druids in the past. The Gwanwins of Sulis are to heal and enlighten. Ogoth Korur is an entire realm beneath our feet. Kimver Daris is the gateway to Lyr's watery expanse, and Tokar Briwa reminds us of the importance of working with nature. Very good. Now, what are the 7 druidic masteries? I have known these answers for at least the last 15 years. The 7 druidic masteries started with herbology and runes. Animal lore and animal morphing followed quickly after. The summoning of elements remains elusive to this day, and weather magic is the most difficult to master. Finally, the verse-making bards wield the power over the people's hearts, and therefore they claim to be the most powerful of all. I rattle off. Caradoc snorts. Damn, he's one of the premier bards of the land. What are the 5 forms of magic? Boswin asks, increasing his verbal pace. The demon summoners call forth the hellspawn for their wretched ways. The Sorim addle men's thoughts and overcome their minds, whether in trade or combat. The Wigista create only destruction with their rune spells. The shamanic peoples can peer into the future, so their counsel is often sought, though they answer to no higher power. The Druids alone fight for balance and protection of the land. What are the 3 rules of Druid conduct? Druids must not kill without cause. Druids must not favour one creature over others, including man. Druids must forswear the use of iron, since its use is offensive to nature. Satisfied? Boswin asks. Caradoc nods slightly. Time is getting short. At the summer solstice, Lord Caradoc informed a special session of the Council of Nine that the obsidian mage who rules Solent Keep had obtained a ghost orchid. This caused much consternation among the more learned of the council. Indeed, I was unsure if we would be able to get Master Hedred out of his cave once he heard the news. Caradoc deadpans. Boswin raises his eyebrow. Am I interrupting you? We can wait for you to finish your comments before I resume talking about this poor man's quest. The camp has a partial view of the western sky, and the sun god's orb is touching the horizon. I barely stifle the urge to bang their heads together. I would hate for my humble words to interfere with your grand oratory, Caradoc says. You should watch your tongue. It will get you in more trouble than you can handle one day. I assure you that the only thing I accomplish by watching my tongue is entertaining children. Caradoc sticks out his tongue and stares down his pronounced nose at it. Boswin smiles despite himself. I cough loudly to bring the attention back to me. Do you know what a ghost orchid is? Boswin asks. His first real question, and I have no idea. No, master. Boswin, you're being cruel. Of course he doesn't know what a ghost orchid is. We don't teach it. In fact, there were precious few Druid lords who knew of it before this summer. Very well. Mark this date, Grami. Boswin has admitted to being wrong. It is a first, I'm sure of it. I force myself not to scream. If I may speak of the mind controller who threatens the land and our hallowed ways, Boswin says grumpily. Silence takes over, and he stops to straighten his splotchy robes, rather than speak of my quest. His voice takes a formal tone. The obsidian mage in control of Solent Keep has in his possession a ghost orchid. It is an exceedingly rare and powerful plant. We cannot idly wait for him to wield it against us. I am giving you the quest to bring 1 or more ghost orchids back to me here at Dartmoor before year's end. Must it come from Solent Keep? I know of no others on the Isle of Prytani, but your quest is to return to me with a ghost orchid so that I may study it. If you wish to search the land instead, it is possible that you could find another one. Sown is nearly 3 months away. Surely I will not need that long to retrieve it. Boswin notes the setting sun. You must complete your quest before Sown to take your place among us, Boswin says with great solemnity. I will start immediately, master. I start for my hut, as I mentally go over the contents in my bag. Wait, Grami, I am not finished. I freeze in my tracks, hanging on his next words. I have not described the flower to you. Do you perhaps want to know how to identify it? I hang my head in humiliation. The flower is only as long as the width between your outstretched thumb and little finger. It is leafless. It has a hollow, yellow stem, and though usually there is only 1 flower, it is possible that it will have 2 or 3. The flower itself possesses pale shades of pink, yellow, and white. It is not a pleasant flower to look upon, and I would advise you to handle it as little as possible. I understand. Before you obtain a flower, I require you to do the following. First, you must go south to your old home of Dinas Gwenenin and visit your eldest brother. While you are there, you must pay homage to your parents. You will be saying goodbye to that life, and you should do so properly. Next, you must visit your other brother, Feroth, the blacksmith, and make peace with him, if you can. Why would you ask that of me? Feroth has hated me for as long as I can remember. My happiest childhood day was when he left home for good. A druid must be able to remain in control of his or her emotions. Are we not called on to judge the people's complaints? If you cannot manage yourself, how can you discharge this duty? As you say, most of Belenos's disk is below the horizon. There are precious few heartbeats left in the day. Caradoc clears his throat. Boswin gives me an apologetic shrug. I meant to give you some time for some questions. Fly, Grami, Caradoc orders. I can't even inspect my hut one last time. I change to a tawny owl and launch into the air. Boswin, Caradoc clears his throat. You must cease any further instruction to your acolyte Grami until the council can decide upon his future standing within our order. I head west into the fading light. Once out of sight, I circle around and spy once again on the Druid lords. Been to see Gwalitha for a second opinion? Caradoc asks. Ha! I would eat a hedgehog, spines and all, rather than confer with that fat old louse. All this time, and not once did he reveal that he felt much the same as I do concerning Gwalitha. I'm a little irked at my mentor. Will you make the gathering after the autumn equinox? Caradoc asks. It depends. I dare not give any hint of my condition. Perhaps I can convince your old students to visit you here. It would be nice to get together without having to deal with that fraudulent Gaulish leader of ours. That sums him up quite well, Boswin says with a chuckle. However, you are as addle-minded as always. As addle-minded as always. I must remember to put that in a verse. If the others come, you will be honour bound to tell them about Grami. They will be honour bound to stop him if they should encounter him. It will be best that neither of us speak to our friends until this is resolved. And why would Grami go so far north as to come in contact with Egan or Hedred? Caradoc asks. I don't pretend to know the future. However, I wish for him not to be hindered in any way. Boswin throws dirt on the fire. Now, if you don't mind, this old man is tired. I'll sleep in Grami's quarters then. Yes, you snore horribly. Boswin looks up at me in my perch and winks at me before retiring for the night.